The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put him in the red. Where conscious and spirituality restricted from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds.
Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds, and we have Shawn Calderone here. Shawn,
Hi.
how's it going?
Very good. It's great to be back. I missed you. I missed all you wonderful people in the chat.
Right on, brother. Yeah, you got some
Wow.
electric information today, huh?
Yes, I do. I'd be glad to share. Some of the stuff that I'm going to be sharing is old stuff, but I have more information on the old stuff, so I hope you guys don't get too bored. But my goal here is to try to give you enough details where you can build your own electorate. So that's kind of my plan here. Ready
Right on,
when you
brother.
are.
All right, let me put up your presentation. I'll take myself out. You're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Okay, so what you guys are seeing here is the beloved Ziggurat electret. It's made from two polymers or two plastics. If you look at the white cloudy parts, that's Teflon, and then the oranger darker parts is polypropylene. I'm giving you the specifics in this presentation because I'm really hoping that you guys can build these your own. They're not expensive to build, and you guys can get have your own fun with these because instead of them being a permanent magnet, these have permanent electric fields. So how I got this strange sort of shape here is I buy candy molds, which I'll show you in a little bit, and those silicone molds that you bake in, I decided to just put these two plastics here under an electric field, and then this is what came out. Okay, let's see here. All right, so here's another view of it. The clear parts, again, are the polypropylene. Polypropylene is super cheap. You can get 25 pounds of it for something like 20 bucks. But the Teflon's a little more expensive, but still not bad. Here's another view. So you can hear it's translucent. What's interesting though is Teflon doesn't want to mix with anything. Teflon is your best friend and your worst enemy. But you'll see that it disperses unequally. And actually, this is a good thing, even though at first I was trying to get rid of it. And the reason why it's good is because it creates all these uneven gradients where it's stronger negative, less negative, and because it has all these different gradients, I can actually extract energy from it without having to go through much work. In fact, I can extract energy from it just by putting it in proximity of something. So here's another picture of it. Now here's coming fresh out of the box. It's probably 2 weeks old. I put it in tinfoil for 2 weeks. This is my version 2. I was going to teach you version 3, but I don't have it. Look at the powerful field here. Look at that. This is an aluminum rotor, and the power of this little piece of plastic is so strong that it just yanks these aluminum rotors. And so this is basically it. Just polypropylene and Teflon. I'll give you a few more steps later. It's not perfect. It's not a clean mix. It's a little burnt on top. But it works, and it works well. I'm working on my 2.5, generation 2.5 lab. And as you can see here, at the bottom here, I have mica. And the reason why I'm using mica is because this thrift store barbecue grill um, tends to short out and cause more sparks. But because I have the mica at the bottom, it causes more sparks and energy to appear between the plates. And that's what I'm wanting to build stronger electrodes. There's another example of it. Um, Copper plate, ziggurat mold, copper plate, and then mica. And it's on a cheap barbecue. And I turn the barbecue up about to its maximum, which is about 450 degrees. Um, the thing about mica is it is a conductor of heat, but it's not a conductor of electricity. So what happens is that even though it's 450 on the grill here, it's about 350, 400 on the mica surface, and that gives me I need a minimum of 350 degrees at all times to work with all the plastics I work with. You really need 350, 375 if you can as a maximum. Um, so with this setup, I'm able to achieve not only this is about 100,000 volts, but which is triple of what I've been using on the electric that you just saw. So I'm hoping triple the results, triple the strength of the field. Here's another view of it with the lights on. You can see that all the edges, the whole thing is just turning blue. This is because of the mica. If I didn't have the mica, then it would only be coming out one corner or two. But because there's no place for the electricity to go, all the plasma is forced right here within the vicinity. So the whole thing is just rip roaring with super high voltage fields. This was the picture that I sent Nathan for the thumbnail. So here is sort of a look into how I store and catalog the electrodes. They're all stored in aluminum because aluminum shorts the field and allows the field to grow stronger. If I take the aluminum off, then it won't be able to self-charge. And so what I mean is, if you've ever taken a piece of metal, a piece of steel, and you've connected it to a magnet, on the other side of the magnet of the steel, sorry, you won't have any magnetism. And the reason is all the magnetism is going into the piece of steel. It's the same thing here. We have electric fields, not magnetic field, and all those electric fields are going right into the aluminum. And then this allows the fields to come back in on themselves in a stronger way. And then it starts assisting in what is called the polarization. The goal really for an electrode is to take all the molecules and have them face one way. And if you can have them all face one way, it'll become a permanent electric field and it'll be very powerful. And so that's really the goal. I can't find a better way yet to store these so they get charged. I know Nathan put out a really good video on why the electrics get charged and the role of aluminum foil in that charge. So you might want to look up that video, or maybe Nathan can post it in the chat. But um, right now, it's the best I can do. I know that Nathan had an idea where I should wrap it up in aluminum mesh. So when I get some aluminum mesh, I'll do that experiment as well. And so this is basically how I catalog them and keep them. And we're looking at, these are 2 months old, 2.5 months old are the maximum. And it always fascinates me because when I pull them out, they work, take my measurements, and I'm surprised. Here's the power supply. This power supply really is, you want to try to find it. If you have any interest in electrodes, or if you have any interest in a powerful electrostatic field, and you want to be able to run it all day and it's always going to work and it's never going to burn out, these power supplies are it. And this is what's called a precipitator power supply. So if you go to AliExpress, look for precipitator power supplies. This is a really good one. It has 2 channels, has 2.5 kilovolts to 15 kilovolts on one channel, and then another channel has 5 kilovolts to 30 kilovolts, and it only has 10 milliamps, so it's not really as dangerous as you think it would be. If this was a neon sign transformer power supply, it would be way deadlier. But this is not really deadly. I mean, definitely don't test it if it's deadly. I claim no responsibility. If you buy this, you know what you're doing. Buy this only if you know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, and you know a little bit about high voltage, you'll find that this power supply, they're cheap for what it does. If you want a comparable power supply that does what this does, I was pricing them, and they're in the thousands and thousands of dollar range. So you just can't beat this deal. Now you can buy those little black cigar-looking high voltage generators that they have on Amazon, and they're really cool, and they have a really good feel. But the problem with those is they burn out and they're not consistent. Here I was running this arc. It's about 2.5 inches. This can actually run 6 inches. It's quiet. You can't hear it. I mean, it's just a gentle hum. Not even a hum. It's quieter than that. It's like a whisper. But you can see how pure, how powerful it looks. Of course, I can get about 6 inches. This is the kind of electricity that I'm putting in. Now you'll see that I have a step-up transformer. That's the step-up our 110 electricity in our outlet here in America. And it steps up to 212. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if you go on eBay and buy these precipitator high voltage power supplies on for 220, you'll pay half the price for them. And all you need to do is pick up a step up transformer and you're golden. You'll save lots of money. So I paid about 80 bucks for this, and to get a comparable high voltage power supply in the thousands of dollars, 80 bucks is not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. Some of my steps are going to be out of order, and of course that's par for the course for my filming, but here I'm setting up now to where I'm going to start adding frequency. And I'm introducing this, which is showing you how I'm going to, I always score or scratch or sand all the copper I use. There's a mica plate. You're going to notice there's a little hydraulic jack here. The hydraulic jack pushes between 3 and 6 tons. I think it's 6 tons. And what I'm doing here is this also heats up the plate. So this is called a hot press. Now this aluminum plate up here and this aluminum plate down here, they're separated by a big thick chunk of wood. That wood is bamboo. And I did some Googling. Bamboo has some unique properties, but what this is it's called a hot press. And in this little digital displays on the lower left-hand corner, you'll adjust those, and that'll give you a temperature on the top plate, and then you'll adjust the other controls, give you the temperature on the bottom plate. These go up as high as 400 degrees. Now, of course, this is not a hot press is not made for electrics. Nothing I use is made for electrics. This is made for if you want to put herbs and you want to squeeze out the resin or the vitamins or whatever out of the herbs, or people put marijuana in here and they'll get the CBD oils because if you dial in the temperature, dial in the pressure, and it will crush out those resins. And so that's the purpose of this. But for me, I was hoping to get the heat on top and bottom, melt the plastics, keep it in the mold, run a lot of electricity through it, and see how strong I can get my electrics by adding just a little bit of pressure. And here is just a picture of a top electrode and the materials inside, and then the bottom electrode on top of mica. Mica is that amazing that I showed you earlier. A mica is actually quite expensive. If you buy it for what it's used usually in microwaves. That little vent that protects the filter in your microwave, it needs to be able to take a lot of heat and dissipate it, and so mica is really good for that. But they're very expensive. I found these sheets here on kids crafting, and they usually kids will cut these up into certain shapes and do crafts with them. And I paid a quarter the price, and so I was really happy to find this on eBay. You can't go wrong with mica, with its ability to transfer heat but keep electricity out. If you really want to contain plasma and get the highest pressure plasma. Mica is your material. Here I'm kind of walking you through. There's the mold. And then I'm going to put the top plate and then show you here. I'll jack it up with the pressure here, and you can see that now it's sandwiched in. There's a a PVC mold, 2 copper plates, and then I just fill it in with that polypropylene and Teflon. Sorry about this. This is kind of again the setup. The name of this is called Depress, DABPRESS. If you want to look it up. If you're interested in getting one of these, they're not too expensive. I would recommend getting a larger one than I have. In fact, if you're looking into getting into this at all, I would say get the biggest one you can find, because this one's I've already outgrown this one. Here you can see now I'm just showing you the steps of how I build it. Now, of course, this is just a dry run. Here. Oh, by the way, you guys might have noticed that I have some color in my face. Oh, I should do this. You actually know what I look like without being on the surface of the sun. This has been a huge, important meter. That meter tells you if the air is breathable or not. So that meter has been important to me because I tend to melt these plastics and don't have good ventilation. And so that's telling me when I need to chill out or get some ventilation. So here now you see I have the hot press, I have the mold, I have everything. Now I have the electricity running through it, and kind of show you the field that I'm creating in between the plates on the hot press. The end goal for me is to really incorporate as much as I can to make these electric. What I mean is vibration, heat, pressure, electric field, and just keep adding on and on as many as I can, because I really believe that I can harmonize and polarize the molecules and get a stronger permanent electric field in the plastic discs and other shapes that I'm making electrics out of. You can kind of see now how the air is okay. I got R2D2 here. He's sucking up the fumes, and it's helpful. Most of my electric lab is in the garage. I had to pull this inside my little lab because there's been a heat wave here and I haven't been feeling well. You can see now that I put the powder in there. You can see the infrared on how I'm heating it up. You can see the different temperatures. And of course, the goal is to have consistent heat on the top and the bottom of the electret. And so I'm just kind of giving you an idea of how I'm always relying on the infrared to see how things are going and to manage temperature. What you basically want is just consistent temperature on your electret. There's another close-up inside. Now, I added a little bit more pressure, and so you can see that it's a little bit smaller. I'm hoping to get that extra effect. The extra effect of polarization. The heat transfer is way better than I expected. You can see the white plates on top and bottom. You look in between, you're seeing the white as well. And that's just totally optimum, because right now the mica is transferring the heat so well. It has the same white on the infrared. And so this has been really my best heat distribution so far. And that's key, because if you don't have the right heat distribution, then you're going to have an uneven charge. Now, this is what it looks like when I pulled it out. On the outside, you can see was my PVC. Now, all I do is just cut a PVC pipe into rings, and then I put inside whatever materials, polypropylene, a little Teflon, and that's really it. And then you get these really powerful electrets. You don't need a hot press. As I showed you earlier, you can just use a grill. But here I'm just trying to up my game. If you're wondering about how this electric did, it worked out terribly. I tried a top secret ingredient in here and it actually did nothing. So one of my worst electrics yet, but it shows you the process I use and hopefully you guys can benefit from it. Oh boy, what am I doing here? That was weird. Sorry about that. It just skipped through a bunch of slides. Okay. This is my old setup, and I use weights to put on the copper plates. This is just how the plastic flows when it's under heat. Plastic has all these different unique properties when you're cooking them up. And again, I'm using polypropylene and Teflon. Those are the ingredients. It's nothing fancier than that. If you're wondering how much Teflon to polypropylene, the mix is around 10% Teflon and 90% polypropylene. You'll usually get polypropylene in pellets. Good luck on finding it in a powder form. If you ever found polypropylene in a powder form, please let me know or Old Man Builds know because that would be incredible. Now, what you're seeing here is the different shapes that are used for baking candies. And so these are the ones that I've been experimenting with. Adding a lid was a big help. Unfortunately, there's so much metal in here that I can't dial up the frequency, the electricity higher than 10,000 volt. So that was a bummer. And so what I'm working on is to get ever higher voltages. If you look at the cord here that I'm kind of emphasizing, I cut off the two power prongs and only the ground prong sticks out. This allows me to hook it up and then I can ground out whatever I want and it's grounded out the house ground. That's the purpose of why I'm showing you this. You can see here again, unfortunately, it's only 10,000 volts roughly. Not the 50, 60, 100,000 that I need. Now, of course, the electrics that you've been seeing have been under this lower voltage, so this lower voltage works. I have a hygrometer. It tells me the humidity. Humidity is everything, to be honest. If your humidity is 50% or higher, your electrics will just fail. So you need to get that humidity down to under 50%. When you get it under 50%, then your electrics will have a chance. And so what happens is, if it's under 50%, take the electrode out and wrap it up in tin foil right away, and then put your markings on it, and let it cool down a little bit. Let it just chill for a bit, and then when you open it up and try to take a voltage reading off of it, you'll find that it'll have a high voltage, and you'll find that it can move those aluminum rotors. You can see my process isn't super clean. When you buy the polypropylene for filling like toys, kids' toys, stuffed animals, the polypropylene pellets you can see here are still sort of rough and not melted all the way. And the white powder you're seeing is the Teflon. And so I think Jarvis, sorry, Brent Jarvis likes to call these Rice Krispies. If you just shake the polypropylene pellets in a bag with a little Teflon powder, this is what they look like. And those later or earlier, the ziggurats were made the same way. This is another one kind of showing the setup. I emphasize a lot of the setups. I made a lot of electrics that don't work. Most of these didn't work, but you learn. That's why I'm kind of doing the heads down, feet on the deck plates kind of work, so you guys can learn from my mistakes. Polypropylene and Teflon, that's your winning strategy. That's always your winning strategy. So strategy. Again, I emphasize out of the mold into the foil. It's very important. You started a chain reaction when you melted it, when you ran an electric field through it. but that chain reaction will stall if you don't get it wrapped in aluminum foil right away. The aluminum foil pushes it past the tipping point. And once it passes tipping point, then it begins the deep process of charging all of the molecules inside the insulator or the plastic. Some of you guys are going, I've seen these slides before. I know, guys. I'm replaying some of these slides so that way you guys can listen to this at night and it'll put you to sleep. So here we see, again, some of, how many videos can I show you the same thing here? Let me see. So this was an improvement. It's all smooth. There's a little carbon in there, and in fact, some of that little carbon in here has kind of been helpful. So I burnt this one a little bit, and it seemed to help it a little bit. Polypropylene and Teflon. Polypropylene and Teflon. You can see the beads here, the pellets. So I just turn up the grill 350 degrees, and there you go. Run electric field on each side of it, and was kind of another view. This was a barbecue grill I picked up. I think it's called the smokeless grill, actually. And I used this one for making electrics. Not bad. This is the mess. There's always a mess. Electric making is messy. But look at this. Got some really nice clean ziggurats on that one. And I'm going to throw those right into foil. Again, pull them out. And guys, so this is about as hard as it gets. You just put polypropylene in, Teflon, and put a positive negative plate, add heat. Now you can do this in an oven. You'll just have to try to figure out how to get the electric field in the oven. In fact, it would actually work better in an oven because the temperature is more evenly distributed. So you'll see here I have this little toaster oven. The problem is these toaster ovens are all metal, okay? So when you try to get a high voltage going in here, it actually, originally I thought it was going to be good, but unfortunately, and I'll show you here, this is not easy to do. I get a high voltage going on in this toaster oven, and it was isolated, but it wasn't isolated. What happened was the top field here, which is the positive, so you can see it spraying this copper plate. The positive was isolated. The grounding plate was not. And what happened is the whole oven became the ground. And so instead of having those straight lines of the electric field going from top to bottom is what you need, it was getting all of these sort of mishmash of fields. And so getting the plasma in this toaster oven was sort of a fail. I want to revisit this, but I have another idea. There it is. I'm thinking I'm making these great electrics when really they don't work at all, which is a bummer. I get the heat right, but I can't get the field right. On the other ones, I can get the field right, but I can't get the heat right. So that's been a challenge and a struggle for me. There's the setup. Earlier I had the Variac there, the big red thing, powering the precipitator, but actually I didn't need to do that because the precipitator has a knob on it, and the knob allows you to adjust the electricity, the high voltage, so you don't need it at all. So I took it out in later experiments. Instead of making some Pop-Tarts, I'm making some electrics here in my toaster oven. And you guys get the idea. I only have 152 slides, so we'll get this done here in the next 90 minutes, I promise. So I was so excited. This was so hard to do, and then it didn't work. Here's an example. Teflon was in the right, polypropylene's on the left. Google polypropylene pellets. You get it on Amazon for $10. And the Teflon, you're just gonna have to buy it from company. I think it was probably $60 for the Teflon, and all the Teflon you're gonna need for a lot because you only need a little bit. But doing this causes the Teflon to coat every single pellet perfectly, and uh, and that's what you want. So you can see here now, the Teflon is actually completely coating them. Now, when you just go from cup to cup, the Teflon gets so charged that these will act like Mexican jumping beans. They'll just fly out all over the place. So you're gonna have to be careful because you'll lose them. This is how I made the ziggurats. This is version 2. I overfill them, and the reason for that is because there's a lot of air pockets. And so I'll just put copper plates on top. This is something I do to everything. Vaseline is your friend. Rub your silicone molds with Vaseline, rub your copper plates with Vaseline, everything with Vaseline. Because one, it protects everything. Two, uh, it is a release agent. Nothing sticks together too bad. All right, so let me see. I think this is generation 2. So this meter measures 22,000 volts. So thing is over to 22,000 volts, fresh out of the oven. These are some more Rice Krispie. I can't get it out of my head now. Jarvis, Jar Jar. My wife calls him Jar Jar. This is one of my harebrained ideas. I bought a corn mill, and I thought, oh, you know what? I can't find polypropylene powder, so I'm gonna grind it, and it didn't work. It was a fail. The good news is I have a homestead up in Wisconsin. We have a little cottage. I want to grow corn, and wheat, so that grinder will come in handy. Here, you guys, if you guys remember this, when I presented this about a month ago, this is palm wax, and I'm putting it under plasma, see if I can charge it. This is Teflon powder. Oh, and this is another must. You rub Teflon powder into your plates. So Vaseline and Teflon, those are your best friends. Nothing's gonna stick, nothing's gonna be permanent, because when you melt plastics, everything's permanent, and it's torture. When you want to clean things, isopropyl alcohol is important. Here's my little garage shop, just kind of walking you through what I have here, my little setup. I am working on that Marks generator. That's going to give me 1.5 million volts. So that's coming along. So here's my little mess. Now that my kids are grown, I get a whole day of the garage. So this is my shop that I smile every morning when I get to go in it. That room over there that's all messy, that's our airplane hangar. Let's see if we're doing anything different here. So I'm kind of, again, just showing you, fill this up with your Rice Krispies, put a plate on top. Oh, I tried, here I tried to just charge little discs. I heated them up, tried to charge them, didn't work. Those are Teflon discs, so the heat wasn't enough. So I bought a kiln. So I'm going to try it again with a kiln, because I know my low temp kiln will melt Teflon. Here I'm showing you off how powerful the precipitator high voltage power supply is. Here I ran some Teflon powder through my laminating machine. I don't know if you guys ever picked up a laminating machine. I think these are the greatest things ever invented. I love laminating things. Here I'm laminating some charged Teflon, and hoping to see if I can make an electret. You can see there's a little pocket of glass beads. So here now I'm mixing glass beads with Teflon. Teflon is extremely negative on one side, and the glass beads are extremely positive on the other side. So if you shake them together, you should get a big voltage. Those are also some more glass beads. I'll show you how that lamination works later. I think my slides are out of order. What I'm showing off here is that if your humidity is high, like Brent Jarvis lives in Georgia and the humidity is really high there. If you if you heat up a smokeless grill like this, and what it does is it creates a whole low humidity environment around it, and that allows you to work on the electrodes. So yeah, it's a bummer because you're working over a hot stove, but if you want the humidity to create electrodes, you're definitely gonna want to have some kind of pancake grill. This is a smokeless grill, something cheap you can get at the thrift store. Heat it up, and then it'll alter your humidity, dry everything out, and as you're working, you'll get good electrodes. You can follow every step perfectly to create an electret, and your humidity is higher than 50%, and you're most likely going to fail. And you're going to go, oh my goodness, Shawn, I tried your recipe and it didn't work. You have to get these hygrometers are for $10 on Amazon. You might want to screenshot this. Get your humidity down, otherwise you'll be tortured trying to create your electrodes. Here I mixed epoxy with Teflon. I was thinking that I'll run electricity through it until the epoxy hardens, and this was an epic fail. I'm going to try to revisit this later, but as you can see, I'm just about trying every kind of method to make electrodes. Is this where I shake it? There's kind of a repeat here. So I'm preheating the electrodes as well, kind of baking them because the humidity is higher. So putting those in tinfoil on the grill with a 29% humidity, it's going to dry those electrodes and allow you to do things with them. You don't want high humidity in electrodes, they're enemies. This is the fancy grill I picked up. These are my 3 beautiful meters. The one on the left is an electrostatic meter. It's an FR003 or FXR003. This is a 4, sorry. I don't recommend buying the 4 because it's $150 more, and it only measures 2 more thousand volts. So if you get the 3, you'll pay about $160 on Amazon, and it'll read 20,000 volts or lower. If you pay another $150 or more for this 4, then you can only read 2,000 volts more. So I've made the mistake. I would buy the 3. This middle meter is I think is mandatory. The red lights here can turn red or blue, telling you the distance and the field density of the electric fields that surround your electret. Now this is just a regular meter on the right, so you can actually plug your meter right into this E-field meter, and now you can quantify the field strengths of your electrets. Here's one of my electrets, not fancy, looks like a mess, but look at that. That's an aluminum vein, and look at how fast the charged field in this burnt piece of plastic looking thing can draw that. So it can do work right away. So polypropylene, Teflon powder between 2 plates works every time. You can see that this is working in the thousands of volts, 16,000, 10,000. Now, these aren't true voltages to be accurate because you really need to hold the electret a perfect inch above the meter. That gives you its exact voltage. And its exact voltage, if it's showing 18,000 volts here, its exact voltage is probably only about 2,000 volts. Now you're probably asking, well, why don't I then just keep everything 1 inch away and take that reading? Well, because it's way more effort. This is just easy. So just slap it on your meter, write it down, and then go to the next one. So I mean, it still reads high voltage. It still tells you possibility. So this field here, you can see this electret here is blue, so it's showing it's negative. You can see for each bar tells you its intensity. Now, you'll notice at first you'll say, well, that electret's weak because it only had 2 bars. But if you'll notice here with my arrow, there's a high setting and a low setting for sensitivity. I put it on low, so each bar is really equal to 10 bars on the high setting. So this electret is super powerful because 2 bars on the low setting is incredible. And so I'm showing you how this is the high setting. So you can see how it fills up the bars quite easily. I put these spacers here. They ended up being a mess, so I just took them off. Here I'm showing you how far my electric fields will show up on the meter. And so I'm about, I don't know, 18 inches away, 2 feet away, and it can see this electret. So we're looking at a 4-foot diameter field probably on this one. It's also negative, as you can see. It's in blue. And that's interesting because it showed positive when I made it, but a couple weeks later, it switched polarities from positive to negative. There's a bizarre reason for that, which I'll explain probably later here. But yeah, very strange. All of my electrets start one polarity. Couple weeks, they switch to another polarity. And the polarity that they switch to is the permanent polarity. Just to add a little bit more confusion there when you're creating these things. So I'm just kind of showing you how powerful and how far-reaching these fields are. This one I'm showing you how it's on the bottom. It also shows you that there's strong positive and strong negative polarities. This electret I thought was going to work incredibly. It's actually shaped into little almost quasi my goodness, Mandelbrot sets. I can't think of the word. And it died the next day. So it's another thing about electrets. They'll wine and dine you, and then the next day they break up. So these were some really failed electret experiments. You'll notice in my right hand here, I'm holding this alligator clip. If you want to get super accurate high voltage measurements, you need to ground yourself and you need to make your readings on a metal surface. It almost seems counterintuitive. You would think if I want to make high voltage readings, I want to be on an insulator and just a rubber mat. No, it's the opposite. You got to have metal for all of your stuff. Measurements in metal, store them, electrets in metal. Metal, it has a big role in making electrets. Just testing different electrets. These are my spheres that I attempted. This is pure polypropylene. When I first started, I just did pure polypropylene or pure polyethylene or just all the cheap plastics you can buy. You can get PE, PP, you can get urethane pellets. These are all different plastic pellets used for making dolls or filling pillows, bean bags, that kind of stuff. And these are pretty cheap. And so you can see here, excuse me, running something with my nose. The sphere worked for a little bit and then it stalled. The reason why it stalled was because you need to mix it with something. Excuse me. It's one of the Rice Krispies and it's working. This is actually I mixed wax in this one with the polypropylene and the Teflon powder. It's super ugly and super weak, but it actually worked. It was actually a working strategy. I didn't stay with the strategy with the wax here because the wax doesn't like to mix with other things very, very well. Otherwise, I would have used it more. You can get smaller high voltage. This one only costs $15. on AliExpress, and it's plenty. It's 10,000 volts. It's respectable voltage. The reason why I keep emphasizing these is they're super cheap and they're very strong. And you need strong fields, electrostatic fields, when you're working with electric. I'm doing some distance measurements for the intensity again. So there's nothing fancy to these little rotary electroscopes is what they're called, a rotary electroscope. This top piece is aluminum. It's aluminum all the way through. The rod is actually solid aluminum. This is kind of how they work. This is one of my better electrics when I first started. It's pretty powerful. Being a first generation, I was surprised that it can do this. So again, I'm performing work. I'm performing mechanical work from a little piece of plastic that has an immense charge in it, and that charge is permanent. Look, I'm going to put the brakes on here. So it has the attractive and repulsion. So this is a respectable field, and it's permanent. Now, what happens is if you use it for a while, say 5 minutes, about 1 to 5 minutes, the charge goes down significantly until you can't do anything more with it. So what you do is you put in aluminum foil, come back in a couple hours, pull it out, and it's completely charged again. Some charge within as little as an hour, others charge within overnight. Depends how good the electrics are. This is the electric that I used wax with, and it's a ziggurat with wax. It worked okay. The field diminished so greatly. I feel like wax is just, it's not good for initiating the polarization. I think wax is better at freezing the polarization that exists. So didn't have a lot of luck with the wax. And this is a very specific wax. This is Cornoba wax. Just look up palm wax from the palm tree, and you'll get it. I think it's palm tree resin is exactly what it is. You can see I'm using the field strength meter. These meters aren't super expensive, but they're not cheap. So, but this is if you want to work with and see where your electric fields are and their intensity, you really need this meter. This meter gives you a visual display of where all your fields are and what are their polarities. And you can Google e-field meter on Amazon. That's where they sell them. That's where I bought it. I think they're made in the United Kingdom. More tests. You'll notice that parts of the bottom of here, the ziggurat, are negative and other parts are positive. And that's because of the uneven distribution of the Teflon powder inside the polypropylene. I think I'm going to electrocute you guys to death here. So I'll be closing here in a little bit. Unless I look in the chat and you guys want me to go longer. I'm just kidding. Hey, we've got a good group of guys and gals. Let's see here. So these are workers. I have shaky hands, so I always tap it on accident. But you don't have to move these rotors by touching it. Here's one of my failed polypropylene molds, sphere molds. This is pure polypropylene, pure PP. Now these fields were gone the next day, so these were just more surface charges. That's another thing that will pull your hair out regarding electrics, is to tell the difference between a surface charge and a spatial charge or a volume charge. I really want the volume charge. I want the charge to be all through the entire electret. So that's the desired. That's what's desired. You can. So I think this is urethane. They had urethane pellets. Do not use urethane. It smokes. It burns easily. It shows this beautiful promise here. Next day, it's gone. So they're just like kind of one day fun, and then no more. Another sphere. More spheres. See if we can get a different mold here. This is another one of my winning recipes. Teflon propylene, polypropylene on a thin disc. I used a PVC ring as the mold. You're probably saying I keep saying the same thing. Yep, I am, because I want to be repetitive so you guys can do this. I'd really love to see you guys get Teflon and polypropylene. Get an old get one of these inexpensive power supplies. Put it on a thrift store grill, and you're set. That's it. That's all you need. So again, you're seeing that the possibility of these doing work. Look at this. It's pretty incredible. Running on plastic power. Here I do some distance tests. My best distance right now is a 3-foot radius or a 6-foot diameter field. And when you think about that, a 6-foot diameter field, that's incredible considering how small these are. And these are these are only my generation 1, some of them generation 2. Generation 3 is gonna, if I'm correct, they're gonna be about 100 times stronger. So I think that Gen 3 is gonna be the ones that power motors. We want to get there. We want to get these things powering a motor. I took a light bulb and some copper tape, and I made this high voltage motor. It's hooked up to the high voltage power supply because I was testing it. Wasn't really good for electrics. Brent Jarvis sent me a really good design, but this is the goal. I want to put an electrode on each side. I want to run a motor. I feel like I'm close, but not quite. I'm kind of showing you that in these little plastic petri dishes, if I just sort of shake them with certain plastics, they build voltages. So I'm just kind of measuring and learning how high voltage works. This was the light bulb that I used to make that motor. I used one of those rotors, and that was it. That's all you need to make these high voltage motors. There you go. This is a burnt mess, but this is actually ended up being one of my best electrodes. This is a Generation 1 electret, but it ended up being super cool. I think this was fresh off the grill, so I needed to put it in tin foil. But I'll tell you what, sitting for weeks in the tin foil, this thing's pretty powerful now. Tin foil, you can kind of see now there's a kind of a rhythm or kind of a just basic set of polypropylene and nylon. This had the copper plate touching when it was being made, and this really supercharged it. So I try to get the charge plates as close, if touching the electret plastic, as I can. So that's important. Here's a little motor that I tried to make. It was a flop, but it looks cool. Oh, so that laminated paper I showed you, here is the control. This is a piece of laminated paper that went through my lamination machine, and you'll see that it's not doing anything. You can see, well, checking each side. It's the air. Now, did you see me shake it? Nothing happens. Now I'm going to shake the laminated Teflon and glass beads. I just ran them through the lamination machine to shake them, and check it out. I got a high voltage. And this one's pretty crazy. The more you shake it, the stronger the electric field. I haven't played with this more, but I thought, look at this. How strong it is. I keep hitting it because I'm clumsy. If I didn't hit it, this thing would be spinning fast. So yeah, this is shake and shake powder, shake energy. That's all it is. Glass is positive, Teflon is negative. So, and the distance between them is great. And because the distance between them is great, when they rub by each other, they create high voltages, very high voltages. This is another, this generation one. I'm trying all kinds of plastics. I'm trying all kinds of methods. You guys get the benefit of polypropylene and Teflon, but it was trial and error for me. The Teflon and polypropylene is so strong that even the mess ups, the overfill flakes, is that's 22,000 volts right there. So it's just a great mix. And I put these little flakes in tin foil, and I can pull them out a week, 2, 3 weeks later. They still hold thousands and thousands of volts. So it's pretty interesting. I hope you guys are learning some ideas, getting some ideas for home. Oh, I'm shaking the. I think this was my second. So air on a laminated paper gives you a little bit of charge. Um, I think this is a different lamination setup. Yeah, I think I added more glass to this one. Shake it power. Yeah. Come on, you can do it. You can tell your friends. I just sat through an hour of a guy playing with plastic, shaking plastic, electrocuting plastic. Yeah. Oh wow. So so here's another thing I learned. If you fold it and just apply a little bit of pressure after you shake it, look at how powerful this thing is. And it's that crease right there. That crease right there is a super powerful field. It's something that I want to take into my future electrics is to create these creases because it works with this goofy laminated electric. You saw it yourself. Incredible. Nothing fancy. Lamination paper between with a Teflon powder in between. Then run glass beads with paper lamination sheet on each side. Run it through, and then run them both together on the 5 mm setting. Boom! That's what you get. You get a shaking, super high voltage power supply. This is a different powder. I'm experimenting with different powder polymers, and this one showed promise. This one is, I want to say it's PVC powder. Pretty cool stuff. And more. I'm trying to show. Oh, that was my burnt one. Look at how strong it got. This is a couple weeks later. So there's a couple phenomenon going on. One, if you pull it off the grill and take it out of the electric field, look, it's all burnt and irregular and ugly. If you take it off right away, put it in tin foil, and then later pull it out to do work, you will get these powerful electrodes. It's pretty incredible. So I'm showing off because this thing's just totally, totally crazy. Another thing about polypropylene is you'll see that its voltage drops really slow. Other materials, I did the same test, and they'll go from their top voltage down to their bottom voltage in like 30 seconds. But polypropylene, it holds its charge for minutes. I want to say you can get about 10 minutes of charge from polypropylene. So that's why it's such an incredibly good material for electrodes. And so, and you'll notice other electrodes will peter out real quick. Not polypropylene. It stays. It holds it. My theory on the polypropylene holding it is that polypropylene is hydrophobic. Now I'm using that big word and acting like I understand it, but I actually learned it from Brent Jarvis. All it means is that it doesn't allow any humidity to settle on it. And that means that it's going to keep its charge. So more and more. Oh, wow. So here we go. We started with a ziggurat and we're ending with a ziggurat. And that concludes my presentation, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a full hour. I hope you guys learned something. Can you see me?
I can see you. Doing great, Shawn. That was
Thank you.
awesome.
I appreciate that.
That burnt one, man, you got carbon going on. It's a really fast surface for electricity to charge. So if you can burn it on both sides, like my wife's cooking when we first got married, you know what I mean? You may have something going there.
Yeah. My wife would make when we first week we got married, she made the best looking chicken. I mean, it had the the crumbs. I forget. It was a coating that looked really good and
Mm.
picture perfect, just like the box. And I put my knife and fork into it, and it was frozen. She only put it in the oven for like 10 minutes out of the freezer. And I just smiled. Oh, can we get this a little bit more in the oven, sweetie?
Oh
Funny.
man,
Yours was burnt. Mine was raw.
dang! Chicken's great, man. Take some cornflakes and bash them up. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
the rolling pin in the bag, and they make a great coating for the outside, nice and crispy.
I heard that works well with fish too.
Oh yeah. Sorry, getting off the topic. Always talk about food. No,
Yeah.
I thought that was great, man. So the ziggurats are all second gen then, and then most of the flat ones that you thought you had in there, those are first gen.
Right. If the ziggurat was flat on the bottom, that was Gen 2. If it was all jaggedy looking, all the jaggedy, rough looking ones are Gen 1. The smooth ones are Gen 2. I worked on Gen 2.5 today. I so hope to get it to you guys, but I didn't get the right ratios. Now, if my calculations are right, you're going to see these ziggurats 100-fold stronger. And so that'll be exciting. Thank you guys for all the love in the chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me this hour. Let's see here.
We had a question
On,
from Darren here. With the strength
sure.
improvement, if there was no flashover while being charged, so the little spark that you see.
You're 100% right. Yes, flashover it's sort of like if you're pouring water on top in a top let's say container and you put it on top of something. If you pour water in it, the water is going to equalize. But if you poke a hole in it, the water now is disturbed and now you're going to have uneven pressures because one of the areas in the container has a hole in it leaking the water out. Same thing with the plasma. If you hold the plasma where it's invisible, it's going to stay even, and you want even. That way it's going to charge the whole electric. When you see the electricity coming out, that means that it's an uneven field. It's going to be weaker, stronger. It's also going to change the shape of the field. And you don't want changing shape fields because it already has random shaped fields. You want to align the fields. So that's a really good question. The only reason why you see a lot of plasma in my videos is because that's my sanity check. What I do is when I set it all up, you can't see the electricity, but what I do is I dial it all the way up. When I see all the lightning bolts come out, I go, okay, there's electricity there. And then I just dial it back till there's no plasma, no arcing, no sparking, no sound. And then that's where I leave it.
Okay. Oh, so you get the high voltage test and back it off just a little.
Yep.
Perfect.
Now there, I'm gonna run an experiment where I'm gonna use that discharge, and it might be helpful, but for these electrodes, it's not helpful at all.
Okay, so one thing I noticed when doing that kind of stuff, if you had a sharp edge at the top and you had a rounded edge at the bottom, the fields come out straight. So but it would stripe your electret. I don't know if you want that, but it works in that manner. So when you took like a saw blade and you put it over like a rounded rod, it goes
Uh-huh.
straight across every time. When you're
Mm,
doing that high voltage field. So if you set it up vertically like this, like I said, but I don't know if you want to charge, non-charge, charge, non-charge. You know what I'm saying?
right.
You want a more of a uniform field. That's why you're using flat plates. So
Yeah. It's
just in case you wanted to try it one time, have fun.
you know,
Okay.
I've been interested in rods and pointier geometries, and that's down the road. Right now I'm in perfect the recipe mode.
Hmm.
So, telling you polypropylene and Teflon powder, that's huge. Good luck on trying to find that on your own. It's just you won't. But I don't want to. Sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my horn. You guys are all smart enough to figure it out on your own. I just saving you some effort. That
So does the plastic hold charge on it? The insulating plastic that you put over top of those things?
the forms, the silicone
Would
forms.
you put it in the machine, right? And it vapor sucks it out or laminates it. You know what I mean? The
Oh,
two pieces of plastic do they hold charge?
they when you shake them, they hold charge for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and then you gotta
But
shake them again.
so if I threw those things in a rotating, like take a ball and rotate it, it would stay charged
Oh yeah, oh
because of the
yeah,
motion.
yeah. And if you figure out that crease, because you saw that when you hit that pinch point, it was slamming that little rotor. I mean, it was intensifying that field, and it's weird because all you do is bending plastic sheet, but bending it was intensifying the field. And that's fascinating of its own.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, a lot of people here are saying they learned a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you, Yanni. The guy who has the Q name, Shawn, since you have so many of these electroscopes, try sticking an electret to one, placing it next to the other. That way you don't have to hold it. Yeah, thank you. So beating my head against the wall only works so long. No, it's a good idea. It's a
Hmm.
good idea.
Yeah, I got one here for you. Could those electrodes be doped similar to transistors to make an N-type or P-type electrodes?
That's interesting. Interesting. Hmm.
P-type probably because you get dealing with high electrical charge, right?
Well, I'm trying to think what you would want to do is have a positive electret and a negative electret because now that's half the transistor. Then you need that little PN or NPN junction. You need that little junction that yeah, I wouldn't know how you would do it with an electret. But it seems like you have the materials to do it because you have a positive and you have a negative material. It would just be the junction. I wouldn't know how to figure that out.
Hmm.
But interesting question. What are your thoughts, Nathan?
Um, well, okay. So if you're trying to pull electric to the field, the only thing you have to worry about because you're doing your source and your drain is your base. Your base has to be non-electrified and then electrified the next moment in order to transmit the power, which the power would move much faster and much cooler in a P-type. Uh, so you'd have to pick something that would not work until you can excite it. So if and I don't know much about the aluminum in this, but if you used an aluminum with an oxide on it on both sides, then it would non-conduct until you charge the aluminum, and then it would conduct straight through it.
It's
But
interesting.
but you get a heavy uh, source and drain, so because it would be an electric, so it moved faster.
It's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Okay, so we have another one. Have you run any experiments using bismuth within your electrodes? He says he's new to these things.
I haven't. I played around with what is called fusible. alloys. Fusible alloys are a mixture of bismuth and lead and a bunch of other stuff, mostly bismuth though. And it's a metal that has a melting point of something like 190 degrees or 140 degrees. I mean, you can melt it in boiling water, I think. I think it melts in that. I did play around with that with my electrodes. But yeah, no jabber. I haven't doped anything like that on that level. I've not thought that far ahead. I was thinking that the bismuth could be used as a, oh, you're welcome, Charlie. Good to see you. Thank you for sharing dash cam compilations. You're welcome. I was thinking that the fusible alloy, the bismuth, would be two plates of a capacitor. So I take an electret, treat it as a dielectric, put bismuth on each side of it as the plates with the electrode in the middle. That was my thinking. And then, of course, I would have a self-charging capacitor. But I didn't get that far because my electrodes are still, they're still on that, they're not strong enough yet to do things like that. I just don't have quite strong enough fields. I need to get a little better. And I really think then that one of the things I'll do is with the bismuth is to make self-charging capacitors. Right now, they're self-charging plastic capacitors. If you think about it that way, I guess, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Well, they are self-charging. Well, when you put the aluminum foil around it, they
Yeah.
recharge. But yeah,
Yep.
they have their own charge. They have a high K value. So as soon as you have the K value, you have the charge. So you're immediately on the bubble right there. All you do is reinstituting the alignment. So yeah, you baked it in when you made your little cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Charlie asked right here, can you combine them like they're magnets? So like a north-south, north-south, you know what I mean, type situation.
That's one of my big goals. That's one of, I should say, not me. That's big. Brent Jarvis and me's goals is to stack them. Is to there's a lot we want to do with them. So yeah, so Vorcraft is our new partnership with Electrit's name. So Brent Jarvis and I are working toward our patent. The patent application is submitted. It's been a kind of a vision document for getting excited about Electrits. And then now we're sort of doing the footwork, the rolling up our sleeves and putting in the elbow grease to make these. And so when you see Vorcraft, he's Vortex and I'm Crafter. As soon as I was nicknamed Crafter, I really liked it. I think it describes me because I'm just making things all the time.
Nice.
And then he's Vortex. So to mix us together, it's Vorcraft. Even though it sounds like Warcraft, that game, it's Vorcraft. So that's a little history behind that. That's why you see Crafter in my label at the bottom here. A
Nice.
cocaine electorate. What? Oh, because it has white powder. Yeah, that's funny.
A little
Thank
different
you,
there, huh?
Crypto. Yeah, yep. Why is that white powder in lines? Oh, it's for my electrodes. It's Teflon. Sorry.
Reminds me of Mike. He came on my show one day. He had a big old bag like this of white powder. It was like alum or something. You know what I mean? He goes,
Yeah.
look at this big bag of powder I got. And I'm like, oh no, what do you got? Thankfully, it was something that had to do with the science.
You didn't get demonetized.
Yeah, I want to do this for Bernie real quick. Janza says, this stuff is all new to me, but I found your experiment very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope I was making it accessible. I'm going to be doing presentations like this as I learn myself to build stronger and stronger electrodes. I really believe we're on the right path. And once you have a self-charging power source, I mean, doesn't it seem like the possibilities are limitless? I mean, if you think about it,
Well, not just that, you got to look in if you're trying to amplify a field, right? So if you have an existing field going on somewhere, whether it's in your craft or outside your craft, these things are perfect for it because they recharge immediately. You know what I mean? They put instant
yeah,
power in there. You're able to convert them right away. I
yep,
mean, they're perfect for like shells of crafts or something like that that you want to build a layer in that gives you a voltage.
yeah,
That's that's kind of where I was thinking about it. Or in line in a circuit where you can make things go faster, you can make transistors move faster. And
yeah,
then because of their charge state, you might be able to get quantum tunneling out of it faster and
mm.
then really start to build into quantum computers that way.
Oh, that's interesting. I I haven't thought that far ahead. I mean, it sounds really cool. Um, I think just the idea of having something that is a ready power source and it requires, um, yeah, bless you, Yoza. You're sweet. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Goes a long way in helping the channel. So
Right on.
goofballs like me can come and present. All right. I didn't see any comments about people actually seeing my face instead of being on the surface of the sun. A Schottky tunnel diode, not transistor.
Those things are great, by the way. He's right. Shocky diodes are really
Schottky,
fast. Yeah.
Schottkys are crazy awesome. They're super fast switching. They handle a ton of current.
Yeah.
They are awesome. So let's see here. A lot of talk about making
Oh,
elect pretty cool.
just want to let everybody know I put out the 5 Old Man Builds memberships. I gave them out, guys. Awesome. If you got one, check out some of the cool stuff in the member spot. Um, let's see real quick. Shawn, did you say polarity sometimes flips itself? I
Yeah, it's
think there
not.
was a material. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you have a negative material, okay, right now I'm trying to make negative electrodes. And what negative, all negative means is that the material has a propensity to gather electrons. Think about it, negative materials are greedy. They don't just want their electrons, they want everybody else's electrons. So as I'm trying to make a negatively charged electret, I use the negative materials. Teflon's very negatively charged, and polypropylene is very negatively charged. So as I begin charging it, it doesn't matter if positives on top, negatives on bottom. It doesn't matter because it's just a piece of plastic. What happens is, though, for some strange reason, I haven't figured it out yet, but when the electric first comes out, it's positively charged. That makes no sense at all. And then if I wait a week or two, all of a sudden they all start flipping polarities. Now they're all negatively charged. Now that makes sense. I did read a paper from the guy who invented electrodes in 1925. He's a Japanese guy by the name of Iguchi. It's a fun name, Iguchi, and he um, had the same phenomenon, and it drove him crazy. And I haven't gotten that far yet. Looks like we have an answer. Hey, Bernie.
I've got a question and a possible answer.
Okay.
When you're pulling the electric out as it's hardening, if you attach a voltmeter to it so it just has a directional, like the smallest of millivolts running through it, that might cause it to flip and do negative. It's something, it gives direction to the entire outer layer and a charge, like a unidirectional charge to the outer drawing layers. So it's something I do with nano coating coils. Not sure if it would work in this case, but it would be interesting to try.
I mean, it's what you're suggesting sounds like it would work. I guess the only thing I would add is that it definitely would change the polarity, but electrons don't flow in plastic. So I would have to touch the meter to each charged area and
Mm.
sometimes each charged tiny area in order to flip them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that. Or maybe if, because it's plastic, right? That if you had a small amount of water on the top, and then could charge the whole thing. But just different ideas to experiment with.
So I like how you're thinking. I've tried different things like that. The water actually destroys it completely.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, you'll never get it back. Because even though you saw some ones with strong fields, I feel like the dominoes are still flipping, and I haven't reached that 50% or more where I feel like it's going to become permanent. Not yet.
Hmm. So
Some of
you're
those. Mhm.
in flipping the fields, aren't you just aligning everything in there? So once that gets more alignment than the other side, so then it flip flops based on how
Yep,
much energy flow through it.
yep, that's what it's doing. And the more the so the maximum I can charge a millimeter is 1,700 volts. Now, if you think about that, let's take that millimeter and take a piece of plastic 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter in a square. That would mean that you would have to take the area, which would be 100 or 1,000, 100, and then times it by 1,700. And then, of course, if you want to take the volume, then you get this sort of, it can be charged up to a million, I'll just say millions of volts. Now, in the low millions, not tens of millions, but a couple million volts. In a 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter square, you can get that much polarity switching and that powerful of a field. In my research, though, getting there is very tough, but we're talking about something that when you touch it, every hair on your body stands on end, and it actually would have almost negative effects on the matter around it. It'll actually start negatively affecting certain things that are susceptible, or should I say, oh boy, infragile in some way to electric fields. So my goal is, and it sounds crazy, but it's a pie in the sky, is to get that maximum. I want every molecule pointing the same way. I want to be able to have to come in with an asbestos suit and lead underwear and and uh, and see how powerful I can get these, because I just feel like the sky's the limit. It's just strange that nobody does this.
I
They
have
make
a
a look.
question for you, Sean.
Mhm.
They make like a Teflon 3D printable material. Okay. And I don't know if it's exactly what you need, but they also make other 3D printed materials now. They started to change up, what they did. Can you take a two-headed printer and print one layer of what you want, then the next layer? You know what I mean? Would that help in the process? That way you could just, put them together and melt them. Or is it better to have them in, all over the place, like you showed with the
It
shaking of the powder?
Having them interdispersed as much as possible is optimal.
Okay.
Because one of them is creating what's called a charge trap. Another one is creating hydrophobic, keeping because 50% humidity, you may not feel it, you may not see it, but microscopic film of water covers everything. So polypropylene has that hydrophobic. So as you start adding these, they all have their little role. They all have their little uh, place in order to make a complete electret. And the more evenly dispersed, the better. Now, one of the things that you're thinking about is kind of done in my. Remember how cloudy the
Mhm.
ziggurats were, and the clouds were Teflon, and the clear parts were polypropylene. That was creating uneven gradients, and that's why it could just literally, its field could just do work. It just starts moving that aluminum rod. Um, if it was more evenly distributed, if it was equally distributed, I would have to then take the electret as a whole and control the gradient in order to make
Mm.
that rotor work. So it's just something fascinating that's going on. And the more it's just interdispersed or more integrated, again, the better all the effects.
Okay, I got another question for you. Is there anything in the future for rotating spheres or discs or anything like that with this stuff on it? I only ask because we're all into UFOs and we're on this channel, and they all, we look at rotation and values and stuff like that. And electrics are totally awesome to create a high charge state in a rotation.
I think it's an awesome idea. The thing about the static field, the electrostatic field, is that it's alone. It's just all of these lines coming. Think about a point in space, and then they go straight out radially. Okay, that's what an electret is. But if you move the electret, those waves develop magnetic waves. So you have electric waves, magnetic waves, and you get electromagnetic radiation. So for some reason, when you move the electret, and it's all deep smoke and mirrors to me right now, but it actually forms perpendicular magnetic waves that are perpendicular to the lines of the electrostatic lines. So that's just surprising and interesting to me. And then Brent Jarvis said, if I can take an electret that's negative, an electret that's positive, as I bring them together, there's going to be a null point in the center where there's nothing. And then around that null point, it's sort of think of like a tornado. And in the eye of the tornado, nothing's moving. But if you just go straight, touch outside the eye, the rim of the eye, that's the fastest speed, right? And that's where it's going to tear into you. That's one of the ideas that he's sort of theorizing. Another one he's theorizing is if I have a magnet and I take an electret and I drop the electret toward the magnet, and then the electret starts to deflect. A piece of plastic starts to be affected by the magnetic field pushing it as sort of a it's not ion wind, it's not wind, it's sort of this it's sort of riding down the wave of a surfboard. You just drop the electret, and then as it drops, it sort of rides because there's a wave here, and it sort of cruises on either side of it. Now, I told Brent Jarvis has all these great ideas. I just need stronger electrets. That's what I just got to take them to the next level. So I have that low temperature kiln. I have the hot press. I have a lot going on, and I ordered a whole lot more exotic nanoparticles that have way more properties than what you're seeing here that can be affected.
Okay. The field on the magnetic field makes perfect sense. You said your Wilmhurst and your static electricity generator wouldn't put out the right kind of field, right? So
Yeah.
you were in potential instead of AC. So what's going on is because you're in like a DC field, when you're building out these electrics and we see those strong lines, okay, or an AC field that's doing that in assignments, what you're doing is you create a little bit of friction because static electricity is friction when you go in any rotation. Therefore, a magnetic field builds because you're adding amperage to it. So you're going to build, right across from it. It's like resonating a Tesla coil, you know what I mean, between the two coils. You're basically creating that field. So then it builds out that magnetic field as you go in the rotational state. It makes perfect sense.
And you're hitting that on the head, because when you're spinning the electret, you have magnetic and electric fields. But if you stop them spinning, the magnetic field disappears.
Which
Mind
could be a
boggling.
very good trait.
Isn't it mind boggling though? And then if you move, oh, there's another one. Oh my goodness, it'll come to me. Oh boy. Oh, okay. A magnet, a permanent magnet, has only a magnetic field. Okay. An electret only has an electric field. If you just place them together, okay, it's not electromagnetism. It's not. Electromagnetism means if you run electricity through a conductor, either you're moving a magnet on a copper wire, that gives you electromagnetism. If you move the electret, you're going to get electromagnetism. But if you slow down the electromagnetism and say, I want magnetism here, I want electric here, and just put them nicely together, not moving. And Brent Jarvis and I feel like that's something special. Something's going to be special about that because it doesn't happen in nature, and you can't find people doing it anywhere.
So you're looking for a high amperage and a high voltage. Is that what you're looking for?
Not high amperage.
Or
I'm
high
looking.
magnetics?
So okay, so this is how good your mind is, because you always think your intuition's always good. Think about an amp as a bucket. Okay, 1 amp is 1 bucket, and as it's flowing, the amp is 1 bucket at 1 second. So as the amp is flowing, 1 bucket, 1 second, another bucket comes in, 1 bucket, 1 bucket per second. And that's what it really looks like in a copper wire when you have 1 amp. Okay.
So you're talking about electrons and holes.
They're just a bucket full of electrons, no holes.
Okay.
The holes are moving the electrons.
Okay.
So if you take that amp, that bucket of electrons, and you just hold it, how much power is that? That's a coulomb. I want to make an electret that is a coulomb, because that's pure energy. So it is an amp, but it's an amp for only 1 second.
Hmm. And you're not using rotation. We're doing solid state.
No, it's just a bucket, no movement, no nothing. Just, and what it just means is that we've reached maximum of the number of molecules to face the same way.
The first thing I would do is take discs, or like how you cut your PVC pipe, electric, magnet, electric, wrap it. Okay, get a charge state going through it. Make sure your magnet is very small, and see if you can't build it faster. It has to do with just giving a little bit of boost on the magnetic portion of your field, because you're not rotating. You know what I mean? When you're in a solid state sitting like that, and then the charge will actually carry through the wire. And as the charge carries through the wire in the electrode itself, it charges the magnet to a higher state.
So I think you're onto something, because if you just angle the electric field, let's say I have a really powerful electric. If you just alter the gradient, that's where you get the energy, because I don't have to do that with my ziggurats to move the aluminum rotary. I don't have to get that gradient because the Teflon's interdispersed in the polypropylene all unevenly, so it's already full of gradients. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You're getting like a directional charge or something, right? Kind of like radiation does, where when you have it through the light bulb and you directionally charge it one way. Yeah, not the same thing, but probably like the similar way it looks in my mind.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That is very
Bernie.
interesting. New type of science, really, you're dealing with, and it's all we can do is trial and error, right? That's real science, is just experimenting, trying different things, and seeing what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I call it is I find a springboard. So I'll find something that's negative, and I kind of then have an understanding there, but then I kind of leave in the different directions. So that way, at least I know where the foundation is. I can go back to it, and that's the kind of trial and error I think we do, is so maybe intuitively. Um, but yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fun. I
For
thought I
sure.
was just gonna stop with Tesla coils, but this has got me interested in a whole new type of fields.
Right. Well, then you have to put the electric onto the Tesla coils and see if we could do that, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
amplify it. And yeah, it's being an intuitive genius. I think we all have aspects of that within us, and just
yeah.
figuring it out. And wow, intuitively, I can't help but correlate the ziggurat and pyramid styles to the electrics, and wonder specifically if that's what the old pyramids and ziggurats
Mm.
might have had going on, part of them,
Mm,
especially with the different outside layering blocks that are all missing off of the pyramids around the world.
mhm.
Oh, what about the fact that he used mica, just like in the Mexico
Yeah,
pyramids?
right. Okay, that's the word. Thank you. I was trying to think of it to say it. Mica, right? And it was mica that was completely covering the Mexico City Teotihuacan pyramids when they uncovered it, and then they stripped it all off and sold it. And it's like, why was that? Like, why is that always the case? And then the fact that they found mercury underneath them, like in some of the chambers in Mexico and
Wow.
China as well.
I, when you say that it was surrounded by mica and how I needed mica to contain the plasma, it just is interesting how when you think about the ziggurats where the plasma was contained by the mica and it was able, they're my strongest electrodes are the ziggurats. And it's just kind of funny because I just bought a bunch of silicone molds. I didn't know it was a ziggurat. It was just a baking mold. And all of a sudden I saw, wow, these guys have the most exciting uh, results thus far.
That's
So
amazing.
hold on, what if we took the electorate and uh, we mixed it with the oh god, it's coming on my mind with Eight Center when he does the different levels of stuff in his pyramids that he does. Sorry, the name's out of my mind right now.
Mhm.
Anyway, if you do that, then you put the mica around it. Are you building a charged state in there in different levels? I think that's why we're asking about different materials and different layers of it. You know what I mean?
Just like
Yeah.
Because
Oregon.
the Oregon, there you go. Oregon energy. Are you getting towards that with the pyramid? Because BurnEye just said the mica was all over it. So the only way to do that is to contain a charged state. If this thing was doing that, you can directionally put the charged state up
Yeah.
or pull it down, whichever you want to see it, and then it contains in the pyramid basically a charge that goes everywhere.
Yep. And it'd be when we get to the level of stronger electrodes, I mean, you can wear it as a pendant. You know, at night you put it in a little metal sleeve that it charge, and then in the day, I don't know, use it for work or might have some other properties to it. I mean, this sounds interesting to me because you're blasting super powerful electrostatic waves to move that aluminum rotary. That's a static field. That's not static electricity. That's the invisible field. And it just pushes.
So that really intrigues me, because it's like, could an electret possibly be used to induce like a non-stop electrolysis effect of splitting the water into hydrogen with that electric charge that's
Mm,
going on?
that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think electrolysis is a current operation, an amps operation, whereas electrics are more of a voltage operation.
Well, you see, that will be debated with my Tesla Tech
Nice.
presentation coming up, and what I've discovered, and that I'm pretty sure I've been able to engineer the reaction as more of just a chemical differential as opposed to needing electricity or amperage directly, and just a small amount of volts differential between the circuits and the different anode cathode elements that I use is enough to get it going, so that if you have the electret, it might increase that.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I can totally see that. I mean, get a strong enough electret and just play with it. I mean, it's what's also strange about the electret is that if you come with your meter next to the output of the high voltage power supply, you won't get a reading until you're absolutely touching the wire. But with an electret, you can be 3 feet away and you can feel the electric field. So there's just strange anomalies like that. I'll charge it with 10,000 volts. My electrets all are 20,000 volts and higher. So that's another. I mean, there's just so many mysteries. It's just there. It's incredible. It's almost. It just seems to be breaking a lot of rules. And yeah, and it's fun. It's really hard though. I'm going to tell you right now. There's a lot of sweat and blood on those little plastic discs.
Oh yeah, it looks like it. Looks like you got to know quite a bit, to be honest with you.
I tried to. I hope I was able to make it easier for you guys though. Just 2 copper plates, mix up some Teflon powder and polypropylene, and just heat it up. And you run the electricity as it's heating up, and all you have to do is heat it up to about 350. The little polypropylene bleeds, they just need to turn clear. That's called the glassy state. Just get them clear, have the Teflon powder on them, turn on the juice. When it's getting heated up, leave the juice on until it cools. That's it. Put it in aluminum foil and you're ready. You're golden. That's a footing for you to start getting into electrets.
I got a question for you. In that little heater oven, why didn't you put mica underneath the plate then? Because you said the ground was bad.
Yeah, so I just came up with the mica just a couple days ago, so it's kind of new.
Oh, okay. Probably
No, I mean, no, that's a great idea though. That might save me. All right, I always get a good idea with you, Nathan. Always. I'm gonna write it down here. Because that would give me more consistent temperature, which has been driving me nuts.
You just need a good insulated box and something to drive the temperature and consistently.
I bought a kiln, but it's kind of
No,
too
that won't
small.
do it. That's all over the place.
I was going to use, well, say again?
You need like a convection to go on.
The toaster oven.
That's what you need.
I will try the mica because that's going to be next level as far as consistent heat. I don't have consistent heat on the pancake grill, the high-tech pancake grill.
I think honestly, I'd love to see one of those electrets, and if you can ever get out, how do I say this? Like a roll of carbon, like a carbon sticker type thing, where you roll it out, right, and then you place it on one side of the electret and tie it into the top. I'd love to see it push that thing around because the carbon's such a fast electric charge state. You know what I mean? It might align them permanently for you, but still have an open value where it gives you that flow on the outside.
Yeah.
Something tells me in these electrics you guys are building, there has to be some form of that to realign the charge constantly at the same time, you know what I mean, as opening it up to give you the value you want. You're gonna have to have both in order to keep it in a permanently charged state.
Yeah. That's a good point. I know I told you that one that had a lot of carbon on it, the ugly one, ended up being one of my top electrets. I know Brent Jarvis said that he mentioned carbon's going to play a role. It's baby steps.
Well, skip the baby step. Go straight to graphene if carbon works.
Hit the gas. Let's go.
Yeah, I have a limited budget. I mean,
Fair,
I,
fair.
I
Don't
have
we
a,
all, right?
I mean, I have a good budget. It's I just have bought a lot of toys, so I have to. But graphene, yeah, I think graphene's going to be down the road. I think it's too important of a material. And
I
plus,
think honestly, hold on, just let me say this. When you get to granite and stuff down the line, and here's the thing, when you get like a lightning that goes through granite, you'll notice that it's doing the same thing. It's going to align the charges in one direction. What it's going to do is it's going to make a different sound on the outside of the granite. It'll trip you out, right? You can bang it like bongo drums, and it'll make those sounds. Okay. But
amazing.
as soon as you move that piece of granite, it goes completely out of state if it was charged in the pillar that it's in. Okay. And they've done this with huge rocks that they have out in the middle of nowhere. They get hit with electricity, and based on all those rocks around them, they put the electricity through it, and it aligns the field all the way through it, right?
Oh
It's the
wow.
same thing you're doing, but then you tap on it with a hammer, it makes a ting sound, right? Like ting, ting, ting. As soon as you move that rock out of that place, it no longer makes that sound because it can no longer align things the way it's properly set.
Uh,
Just an idea that that's the whole. If you get on the History Channel and you hear them talking about that temple that does that, that's why
yeah.
they should have already known that. I don't know why they didn't put that in there.
It sounds fascinating because I've been wanting to try um, the electrode down the center of, let's say, a rod electrode.
That'd be
So I
cool.
have some
Right.
ideas because then if you have a rod and you run some super high voltage to the rod, it'd be sort of like lightning striking the granite. It
There
would
you
have that
go.
effect, right?
Yeah, if you keep that charge state through there, yeah, absolutely. Because that's all you're doing is if you're just aligning things, you come up with creative ways to align them.
Exactly. It's all about, it's called polarization, and the process of polarizing is called polling. So if I take my high voltage power supply, connect the positive on the top copper plate, negative on the bottom copper plate, flip it to the switch, I'm polling. That's the word, polling. And it's just short for the mechanism of making all the molecules look the same way.
Oh, I just thought about this. What if you did it like you did a screwdriver in high voltage? So in the center of your electric, you put in some type of a metal, right? So that it does this one side and then the other side does the other one. I bet you'll end up with two different variables altogether. One will be like a high voltage value, and the other one will come down a little bit and have less of a voltage and more of a magnetic value to it because of the way the positive and negative are working in your circuit. Because the negative is a magnetic charge, and then the positive usually like a static or a high voltage, you know what I mean, high frequency charge.
Mm-hmm.
So by putting the screwdriver in the middle, you're dividing the field.
I'd have to being dyslexic, it's tough for me to imagine that. So, what would be the shape of the electret that you're talking about, or the electric material?
You can make it in any shape you want as long as you
Let's
divide the center.
let's pick one. Let's say it's the shape of a Coke can. So how would you take what you just said and put it into a Coke can shape?
Take this
There you go.
right there.
So
That's a screwdriver in
perpendicular.
the middle of your circuit. So if the
Okay.
can is all plastic, right,
Yep.
then this is the divider line. And in high voltage, if you take an open area that's bigger than what you want, right, and you put a screwdriver in the center, it jumps the field on this side, then it jumps the field on this side. But because of the way, like say a high voltage flyback or a DC flyback is built, it's going to have a magnetic side and it's going to have a higher frequency, high voltage side to it. So in that thing, it'll change the values in both, right? Because you get the more negative magnetic here, you get the more positive, you know what I mean, high voltage here. AC flyback is a field upon a field upon a field upon a field, right? So you may get a steady charge through both in that nice AC when you got there.
And so the wire would poke right straight through the can, and then you'd run super high voltage through that wire, would you put a spark gap in that circuit, or would
Well,
you just leave it a closed loop?
okay. How do I say this? I'm I made this thing that's saw blade, and a round rod, right? So what it does is evenly distribute on both sides. Okay.
Yep.
But I can change the value and distance of each one based on the field I want to put in.
Yep.
Okay. What it does is it permanently charges your electric to one be positive, the other one be negative. Because you're dividing the charge because you're
I see.
building it at the same time.
I see what you're saying. On one side is aligning positive, the other side is aligning negative, and it's the center point that divides them.
But it's what allows the thing to flow through, the energy to continue to flow. That's all it's doing. You know what I mean? But in doing that, it divides the charge states.
And I'm wondering, after you did that with high voltage and you let it cool so it can hold the charges, freeze the charges, if you will, in place, I wonder if you tried to run electricity through it again, would it be sort of a booster and push the electricity through? Or, well, I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm hoping it helps you with your magnetic field. By changing the charge states, you help with your magnetic field when you build it out in rotation.
Interesting.
Because you can always go on the other side of it and build it as a 3-tier system. You know what I mean? At that point, it's endless. As long as you figure that out, heck, you could do it out of spheres and it wouldn't matter as long as you, kept the same consistency. You could put spheres of metal in there as mesh and build them out in different sizes exactly to a harmonic value, and then just injection mold it. And then, man, it stays in a charged state all the time to the value you want. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That would be like the ultimate set right there.
It's to get to the injection molding part would be amazing, because it would be the most efficient way to compact those materials, because it's hot, it's pressure, and it conforms to whatever mold you want. Yeah, I need to go one level up with my electrics before I can start stacking them and adding metal to them, all these things. So they're still not quite, like I said earlier, they lose their charge out between 1 and 5 minutes. And it's not a gradual, it's sort of exponential. And
So
can you 50%, 30%.
Can you learn something from an electric and a microphone when it's in a continuous charge state to recharge them faster?
You're talking about a microphone, electric? Sorry?
Yeah, because it's always in a charged state. It's always in a charged environment. You know what I mean? It's never out of that environment. Once you take it out of there, they lose all value.
Right, because it's hydrophobic. So there's no way humidity, it's sealed from the outside air. They're probably made in a vacuum, because that way then there's no contaminants, and that 5 volts will last 100 years. Easy.
So the injection molding is good for you because it creates a vacuum inside there while you're injection molding it.
It definitely gets rid of inconsistencies because of the heat, pressure, and the mold shape. Definitely. But to be actually in a perfect world, injection mold in a vacuum now would be insane. And I have a vacuum chamber I bought just for this. So when I get to that next level, I'll throw the next level electrics in the vacuum chamber, and I'll share that with you guys when I get it there, because it's gonna be next level.
Yeah.
Terran Earthling says injection molding. That's Nathan's idea. I bought an injection molder just because of Nathan.
Well, hey, we'll see if it works, huh? We'll all help each other out, man. Charlie was asking. If it doesn't
work, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If it doesn't work, I'll send you a bill, Nathan. Charlie C says, can you charge an electric with a Tesla coil? I have read that you can. I have tried and I can't. I will try it again, but no.
I'm wondering, okay, here's a mystery for you. Can you run a thruster with a Tesla coil? And the answer is no. But if you turn it into a bipolar Tesla coil, you can. Remember, we were having that conversation about that, Shawn?
Right. Yep.
Because now you're getting two different sides of the field. You're getting a positive and a negative. And as you move the value between the top and bottom, you're changing which one has more magnetics in it and which one has more high frequency, high voltage in it. And as you do that, now you can make that thruster in between the bipolar Tesla coil, which means then you can charge an electret because now you're getting the high voltage hits between two areas, right?
I think that a strong electret in space will be an alternative propulsion, because everything around us is working against the electret. It just is, everything. But in space, there wouldn't be everything working against it. I think that if you were able to use it as it relates to the gradient and getting energy from it, I think then you would have some propulsion. That's what fascinates me. Right now, though, I'm just so focused on flipping every molecule to my will, bending them to my will and then I think we start going into thinking of the other ideas. Now, Brent Jarvis is the brains of this operation. He's sales and marketing. He's the one that's going to go and sell our next generation electrodes to maybe colleges or something, get people excited about them. And I'm just going to keep plugging away.
Nice.
It's exciting. It really is. I'm going to say it again, though. I just spent a week preparing for Gen 3 experiment downstairs, and it just bombed. All that work. So I can tell you another way how not to make them.
Trial and error, real science.
That's what happens to us.
Right. So
Charlie was asking, can you use one wire for thrust in a Tesla coil? And I don't think you can. It works on a different principle. But I will tell you, there was something cool I was talking about. We were going to talk about yesterday. We didn't get to it. If you take a magnetron is frequency equals 1 over time because you're where your blades are, right? And we're talking about this earlier, right, Shawn?
Right. The waveguide.
So now if I want to equate quartz, I know where each point is in that quartz, right? So I can just go through it and do it. But did you also know that frequency equals energy over distance? So the distance that you put them at gets you how far apart you want to put these things. So if I want to make nano layers out of it, I change the frequency and shorten the distance. Now I can get them real small. So I can basically take a diamond and then hit it with a magnetron or the microwaves, and then it'll make it more dense. So if you guys understand history and you talk about the blue diamond that they have, why there's energy in it, it's because they shorten the amount of distance between each one of those points in there, right? So they do that in the lab. They take a little small diamond, and then after about 2 days of bombarding this thing with microwaves, they get it to become more dense and have energy compacted in it because you added compression to the field in a basically a piezo, electric field, and it makes energy. So that's what I would do, is start with a microwave and figure out your variables in order to get this. That's where I would go with it, because in your microwave is where you're going to be your thrust at, and because it's consistently the same frequency time and time again. Think about it like this. What's that EM thing that they keep talking about? That they want to be able to, they want to be able to put in a pulse, right? And it hits this diaphragm and it moves, right? Or they put it against a flat plate. I forget what they call it, some kind of drive. Anyway, the most efficient way to do that is to create a magnetron type thing, so that it's consistently the same frequency all the time, and then you don't get a inconsistency in the frequency. Because you know as well as I do, as soon as you mess up that frequency and you go from a resonance frequency, right, a nice beautiful looking thing, and then you put it in an odd frequency, it ruins the whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
So they try to use piezo's, and as soon as you see their chart on where their voltage and stuff are,
Yeah.
they're all over the place, crazy. You know their harmonics is way off.
Right. Right.
Completely way off. They weren't timing it properly for like hit this one 2 seconds later, hit this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it wasn't giving you that magnified. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Go
No,
ahead.
but you sparked an idea that I've drawn up 2 experiments where I'm going to use microwaves to excite the molecules in the plastic, and then I'm going to run the high voltage field and see if the microwaves will assist in me polarizing the molecules.
Mm.
So you're really close to what I have written up from one of my experiments. But I didn't come from your angle, which I like your angle. I came up from an angle of fabrication, and the problem with trying to get higher and higher voltages is to keep the voltage where you want it. Okay, you know this. Try to put 2 things a millimeter apart and try to put 50,000 volts through it. You need more space, right? So what I was thinking is boy, I lost my train of thought. Oh boy, it'll come
Put
to
2
me.
things at distance across from each other,
Oh,
and then get them to charge equally.
yes. My thought was yes, on that. That's a good point. The reason why was that when you have to heat these things up, you have metal. You need metal. Metal on the bottom, metal on the top. But let's say I didn't use the pancake grill, the toaster oven. I used a microwave that was only hitting the electric materials. Then I would be able to have no metal other than the little tiny copper plates on each side, because you can just put it in the air and the microwave will hit the plastic and warm it up, and it eliminates all of my headaches of the electricity hitting the metal surfaces ever that I'm using to heat it up.
Okay, so can I ruin your day, like a little
I
bit?
I love it when you're in my day.
Okay, when you're in a DC field and you have high voltage, anytime you add heat to the system, you're changing the value in your system. You're bringing down your voltage and you're bringing up your amperage in the system. As soon as you did that, you ruined your system and getting your complete values to be exactly the same, because the heat going in is inconsistent. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. This is the way these things work. They're not consistently at one temperature. So you're
Yep.
hitting fluctuations in your values, which doesn't allow it to be consistent, right?
Yep.
Well, it's the same thing in AC. So the way you're heating it and the way that it's going into a charge state matters. So when you
Yep.
think about it, anytime you have heat separated from your charge state, now you're going to have a problem, because now you're going to be inconsistent on your voltage, which means your electrics are going to be inconsistent, which means they're going to be weaker. But like you said with the magnetron, if you hit them all at one time without a separate heat source, it now becomes more consistent, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
in the process you're using, you're like, you know what I mean? Just giving
Yeah.
it to yourself.
And you just put words to my experiment, because I have the microwave. I collect microwaves from thrift stores, so I have a monster pile.
Me too.
I keep getting afraid that the new microwaves don't have not the magnetrons, but those 25-pound high voltage transformers that people do the Lichtenberg art and they die. You know, I'm talking about the big MOTS. They call them MOTS, microwave oven transformers. They don't make them anymore. I don't know if you knew that. There's no more MOTS.
Really?
They're bizarre plastic inverter. It looks like an octopus. Oh yeah, buy a new any microwave oven that's new, and it does not that will not have that 20-pound MOT in it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's weird because the primary now is a braided Litz wire. It looks like someone braided your hair, and it's braided Litz wire. That's the primary wire on the plastic octopus they call a mod.
Wow.
So I already picked out one of my really good condition microwaves to do that. What you suggested to
You
focus.
need to get back to that thrift store and buy some more old microwaves. Is what you need to do.
I got
That
like
place has
12.
everything.
I have like 12. And I have like
We all
20
do.
magnetrons too. What's that, Bernie?
We all need extra microwaves. I've got a
Yeah.
few, but I have a feeling I need more because I'm probably going to fry them with my experiments later this summer, putting monoatomics and different nanometals in, because apparently you get some transmutations with that. So
There you go.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But
I've
by the
been,
way, sorry,
yep,
the
yep.
frequency coming out of the microwave, you have to hit it right away. You cannot wait for it to go in the box. It's inconsistent in the box because it's a wave bouncing around everywhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
But
Mhm.
if you get it in its pure form right in the beginning, it's a focused beam.
Yep.
That's what you want
Right.
on your thing, Sean, or else it won't give you a result. It'll give you the same inconsistencies.
That makes sense. Total makes sense. Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna do it. I think that's next, because now I'll also be able to apply a lot of high voltage. It's another thing. I want it out in the open. So the magnetron's gonna have to be out in the open. There's gonna be no metal. It's just gonna be a magnetron pointing focal point on the electric material.
You watch out because those magnetrons don't go straight. When they come out, they go
Right.
to the
Yeah.
side.
right,
You know
like
what I mean? They're 90
in
degrees.
a
Yeah, you want
hole
your
in the
eyeballs.
ground in a giant field with many extension cords out to it. That's
Oh
what I
yeah.
envision
Got a
for
fishing
my
line
yeah.
holding it.
Yep. Yep. Tinfoil undies and a
right?
and
Now
Lead
you're talking
vest.
old man style.
yeah. Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
man.
know. I I've been playing with a lot of scary stuff, and I've seen a lot of dumb people on the internet. So it's plus it's funny. I worked electronics in the Navy, and I don't remember anything other than they beat the heck out of me with safety. I mean, they make it everything ingrained so deep that you understand what's safe with electricity, and it's helped me. It's helped me a lot because a lot of people aren't comfortable with messing around with the stuff I'm messing around with.
For
Yeah, well,
sure.
this group is. I can tell you that we all fry a few things here once in a while.
I, and I bet Nathan's been the shock the most out of all of us with electricity. I bet.
I agree.
I
Yeah,
think
I
You're,
don't disagree with that at all.
you're so brave. I remember you electrocuted your face on one presentation.
Oh, it was so bad. He sent me this high voltage thing. It's like that little one. Remember that, Bernie? And I put it on my face. It was just shocking the daylights out of me. And then my no hairline. It was. I think that's why I'm going bald more. It didn't help to grow it.
opposite. It's like I thought those shocks supposed to induce more hair growth, not take it out.
Yeah, it worked the opposite way.
Yeah. I
Try it
tried
and
making
find
electric.
out.
Yeah,
I,
right. I
I'm
know.
still convinced Shawn sent me that just to have a good laugh. I'm convinced of it. He just wanted to laugh and see me do it. He probably shocked himself once to go, all right, Nathan will try this. I'm sending it to him.
Yep. I shocked myself 1,000 times with that thing. It's so evil. I tried making electric with it actually because it's like a 160 kilohertz Tesla coil. That's what it is. A handheld Tesla coil for $30 on Amazon.
Yeah, you know
It's
why that
tiny.
Tesla coil doesn't charge the electric? It's because it bursts out in
No.
the air. It doesn't need the negative. You don't have the negative in the circuit. In order for it to charge, you would have to create a negative, which means like put it in AC, then take your spool of wire, and then use that as a negative. You know what I mean? So you use the mass of that in order to pull in the electrons so that it shoots towards the coil.
Yeah.
And then you could probably charge it that way.
Yeah. Or just the diodes. If you could diode the output of a a Tesla coil, then it'll be half wave. It'll be positive pulses or negative pulses. The problem is it's super hard to put a diode on the end of a Tesla coil. Try it.
Oh, I can't even get them to work. They're like they're
No,
not there.
it can't. Now I wrote a schematic for this. You buy a high voltage diode. Now high voltage diodes, a regular diode conducts electricity at about 0.7 volts, but high voltage diodes do not conduct until about 15 volts DC. So I was thinking take a 9 volts, apply it to the high voltage diode, so it starts conducting, and then connect the Tesla coil, and that way it'll chop off whatever you don't want, and it can send either a chopped off Tesla coil positive pulsed output or a negative pulsed output. And it's all because you added 9 volts to the diode before you used it at the end of a Tesla coil. That's my theory. I wrote it out. I just haven't tried it yet.
I'd love to see that experiment. That sounds awesome.
I've hooked diodes to Tesla coils, and the electricity just jumps the diode.
Oh, yeah.
You could see it
Really?
fly right out of the wire and go like the diode's just a speed bump.
They don't respect them at all.
No, they just treat them like dirt, drive right over them.
Oh, that Tesla coil inside of a Tesla coil, man. Oh my God. I did that this last week. And the amount of energy coming out of there, by the way, I'm just on a simple NPN Slayer exciter circuit, and I put this thing in there, and I put a Tesla coil inside of a Tesla coil, right? But the amount of brightness that comes out of that bulb could blind you. And it doesn't work until you take one bulb upside down and then the other bulb to go in it, because you're manipulating the inside field and flipping it. You know what I mean? And as soon as you flip that inside field, boom, the electricity's everywhere, because the Tesla coil on the inside has 10 times the amperage than it does on the outside. So now when you want to run a motor, and you looked at one of my experiments that I did when I just put a rod down the center of the Tesla coil and I made it bigger, now I understand it with another Tesla coil. I'm now pulling enough amperage where it doesn't go free flying. So at, 800 volts, it starts to go in the air, right? And when you get to voltages. So that means that I'm under that number. That means my amperage is sky high. So now I should be able to run the daylights out of that motor.
So you just did a video on that?
I just did it on the brightness of the bulb, man. You haven't seen those ones I did with the bulbs?
I've been watching them with the bulbs. I'm jealous. I want those bulbs. Those are mercury lights, aren't they?
I got mercury lights. They lit up blue and beautiful. It was a set of LED lights that I had that were the brightest.
But the light bulbs that have the arcing and sparking inside, the clear big ones.
Oh, those are 200 watt regular bulbs.
Incandescent. They got some. No, there's some gas in there. I don't think they're regular. I think there's some maybe mercury gas in there.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's got to be something.
It's mercury. The color looks like mercury gas. Yeah. I was going to say that because you're going to sunburn your eyeballs. If right?
Yeah. Oh, it is.
You got to wear glasses with those bulbs.
You're getting serious radiation. That's why, honestly, I didn't even get it up past half power. There you go, bro. No, seriously, because
there's holes in these. There's slits. I think I'll still go through, though.
Yeah, the slits are not quite tight enough.
Yeah,
dude,
this
I'm
thing.
telling you.
Here, watch. I'll show you. Let me bring
You
it
need to wear
up.
goggles or buy a blind man's cane. Either one.
Yeah, this thing handles 40 volts, by the way. And when I only run this thing at I think this gets up to 20 volts, right?
Yes.
Look how bright that is. Like you're blinding people in the eyeballs with that thing. And I'm only at half power. I haven't even hit full power on my coil yet.
That's not the mercury bulbs. Those are that's just a clear light bulb.
Just a regular light bulb.
Yeah.
That's so clever. And that's a Tesla coil in a Tesla coil?
Mm-hmm. It's just sitting right on top of the Tesla coil on the inside.
It's an inverted plasma ball. It's an
Yeah,
inverter.
right.
You want to see
Similar
the
to-
plasma ones or the mercury ones?
Yes.
Okay, I'll bring up the mercury ones. Those
Mercury
are awesome.
That's scary.
Oh, let's see.
I'm so happy Brent Jarvis is in the chat because he's answering all the electric questions. It's awesome. Oh, wow. WYNY
Winona
Nanorack.
Raider. Shout out
Winona.
Winona Raider.
Thank you so
Right on,
much.
brother. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that, man.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Awesome.
There you go,
Awesome.
Shawn. There's your bulbs, man.
Oh.
Those are the sunburn your eyeballs bulbs.
Like I
Those
said,
are
dude,
the
that's at
pro
7.
bulbs.
I'm at 17 volts, man. I still got a lot of power to go.
You need to wear glasses seriously, buddy. That's not good juju right there. I mean, have you felt like your eyes feel a little sandy and dry?
Dude, it felt like you're out in the beach all day. Are you kidding me? You're getting radiation all over the place. That's why it's only a half, like less than half the power right there. Dude,
Well,
I'm
I
afraid
mean,
to put that thing in full power.
you're what, 10, 15 years younger than me?
It won't be for long.
I was gonna say, you need to. That is awesome, but just wear tinfoil on the important parts.
Dude,
That's
I'm telling
awesome.
you.
That is awesome.
Well, I keep telling people there's radiation in the middle there, and they don't believe me. And I keep telling them Evan Brock went out there and made Tesla's cold energy X-ray machine, doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Dude, you're forcing all of that into an implosion field in the center. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, you're taking okay. So let me just say it this way: if I took RF and I showed it this big, right? Then I told you I'm taking that RF and I'm shrinking it down to where you have to have a microscope to find it. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
What does that do to your field? It means it's pressing on the Planck scale. So then it forces it out in radiation. So when you're sitting, I'm standing there like a moron holding these light bulbs. Guess what? Mr. Old Man's getting his whole junk irradiated right now. Okay. Good thing I already have kids. It's bad.
Yeah.
And everybody in the comments that got it, said the same thing. You know what I mean? Hope you were wearing your aluminum chonies. You know what I mean? Because
lead vests.
yeah, they all got it. But I was just trying to get to a point because people didn't believe me. It's there, but it's there.
I'm sending you goggles, Nathan, and you're gonna wear them.
Right, but it's safety first, and a lot of people don't get that. It's like I could very easily up my voltage into my electrolysis to prove how much hydrogen can be made, but I would explode. So no, thank you. Right? It's like I keep below thresholds intentionally. We like being alive.
Oh.
We do. We like you in one piece too.
Right?
Oh my God, dude. I gotta get okay, check this out. I got a t-shirt, okay? My old man builds t-shirt. It came in today.
Oh,
It doesn't look as occultic when you wear it. You're starting a cult. You have to wear this shirt to join.
Look, hold on. That really is a Tesla coil. I know what you're thinking, but it is.
I
a candle.
will agree with multi-use purposes.
It looks like a Tesla coil.
Dude, I got to get a shirt now that has the metal chonies. You know what I mean? A fat guy in metal chonies, dude. That's what I need. A lead chonies. So fry it and find out.
Yeah.
I had to find out. That's the perfect shirt.
Oh, man. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I was getting sick making a batch of electrolytes, and I picked up that sensor that tells you if the air is breathable. And And I remember I sent you the video where it was completely hazardous to be next to it. So I'm burning my plastics out of my driveway now.
There you
So
go.
not the heat waves passed.
Yeah, get
So
a vacuum in there. Get one of those big sucker fans for your garage.
yeah, like a
That's what I
hood
like.
or kitchen.
Yeah, like a whole house sucker fan.
Yep.
You
Yep.
turn it on, it's 110. You turn it on, it's this big fan that's up above. It goes right out the chute, blows it right out of your house. So if you put it in your garage above your work area where you're frying stuff, turn it on instantly. The stuff's gone.
Yep. The problem
So
with my house is built 1902, so it's got a lot of obstructions, if you will, to
that,
run the outer. The problem
well,
was it was a 900 square foot farmhouse with a well in our basement, and the guy added 7,500 square feet of wood.
Oh
mm,
wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. He used mahogany for the floors.
Oh,
oh,
that's
He
nice.
amazing.
used oak. Yeah, mahogany's for musical instruments, not floors. The guy went totally nuts, and my wife and I laughed because we couldn't afford it. But he dropped the price 75%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So we made
Amazing.
it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a real blessing. Right time, right place, right time. Yeah.
Yeah, but we all heard the thing in there. Don't think we didn't about your airplane hangar over there next to your big nice garage. I mean,
It's
seriously?
it's a half basketball court and full half basketball court
Oh,
and a giant swimming pool.
oh,
But
it's that too, huh?
he
This
didn't.
Canadian might be a little bit jealous. We have skating rinks for most of the year, I guess.
Well, it's not. Here's the thing. He poured I don't know how many dump trucks of concrete. I mean, it was insane. The pool was the pool was something like 1,800 square feet, so it was massive, and we couldn't do anything with it. We're simple people. We can't afford a swimming pool, so we had a guy come up with the dump truck and fill it with gravel. And now that I have 4 kids, adult kids, and they have friends, and their friends have friends, and they don't know where to store their stuff. The airplane hangar is now a storage bin um, from one of those hoarder shows.
Oh
So
man, that's not right. Dude, do you know
yeah,
how much stuff I have in my garage? Like literally, dude, I gotta squeeze my cheeks together just to get by something. And if it has high voltage, hey, the front gets zapped, if you know what I mean. I wish I had that kind of space.
you, space is awesome. Space is so awesome. The guy was so cheap. He wanted to put the money into the floors that he built the house over the house. So if you go into my attic, there's a roof. So you walk on a roof inside our roof because there's another roof. Yeah, there's a
Good for
whole roof.
insulation.
What's that?
That should be good for insulation then, right?
14-inch thick walls.
Wow, that's some
Our
thick
heat,
walls.
our heating bill is less than all the regular 1,200, 1,500 square foot homes in our area. We're more fuel efficient, and because of the walls, because of the crazy man.
That's awesome.
It is. It's crazy because it has a hidden room behind the bookcase. It has
I'm supposed to say that online, Shawn. Jeez.
yeah. Don't worry, I'll be at my lake cottage. I won't be caught down in Illinois, Chicago. Mm-mm. When I see the
Oh,
mushroom cloud over Chicago, that's my signal.
wow.
So I had a lot of fun, Nathan. I really appreciate you letting me have on your show. You're a great group of guys. You guys in the comments, I appreciate it. This is the time I turn into a pumpkin.
Time's up, huh? Well, dude, it's
Yeah,
always fun having you here, Shawn, man. Even if it's just to hang out and talk, man, we have a great time with you.
I
Always a
appreciate
pleasure.
that.
Always
Thank
learn a lot from you, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I learn a lot from you. A
Appreciate you
lot.
showing. Praying for your health and that we'll do this again soon, whenever you're ready and able, good sir.
Thank you so much, Bernie. I appreciate that. All right, much love to you guys, and I'll talk to you all soon. All
Hold
right,
on.
take care,
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shawn. Bernie, you got a big night coming up tonight, don't you?
Yeah, in 1 hour's time, we should have Sheila Rahman on for Coherent Wave Geometry 432 for verse 440. So that'll be good. I'll send you the link here once we're off of this. And you did want to see my yesterday or the day before, you were asking about my electrodes that I just made.
Oh yeah. Let me see those.
So,
Because we talk about carbon and stuff like that too.
so this one on this
Hold on, let me
side
put you in
here, it's got the carbon rod in the middle, the iron and then carbon rod, but then it's covered with lots of electricians saying it's aluminum, so maybe it's not titanium. It might be an alloy of both, but the bigger wire and then the copper, so those two solenoids, and then the smaller one, a tungsten one with the same stuff on it. And then I'm going to make this a double anode into a reaction. But do I have a blank carbon one to show you? Hold on. Unos momentos, por favor. There we go. We got, so here is the carbon coated on the ferrite core of the welding rods that I've got. So there's the carbon iron and then the smaller tungsten ones that I'm using and putting the wires around.
So you're getting like aluminum welding type rod, and then you're getting
Yes, this is steel welding rod. They're using
that one.
they were using it steel for the building, so then it's got the carbon coating on it.
But the tungsten's more like a MIG, right?
Yeah. The time, yes, it is.
Okay, that's cool. And those are the ones that break down, right? So that's going to be your element base.
That's the sacrificial anodes.
Nice.
But then I also use them as the cathodes too. Just don't have those ones wrapped yet for this way experiments.
Those don't burn out, right? Or do they stay good
No,
as the other one?
they stay good.
Oh, well, that's
And
cool.
tungsten lasts a very long time as a sacrificial anode as well. It's one of the strongest.
Hard to break down.
Yeah.
It's probably because it's a natural mineral or not natural. Probably made.
They're all elements. Tungsten's a pure element.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. Just it's a strong one. Some are stronger, some are weaker.
So steel probably goes away real
Silver
quick.
is also extremely strong and hard lasting.
Which one?
Silver.
Silver. Oh, really?
Yeah, silver and tungsten, the two strongest I've found for durability as sacrificial anodes.
Is gold last long, or is that pretty?
No, gold's one of the quickest to go, just like almost as fast as aluminum.
Really?
Yes, sir.
That's interesting. Do you have a chart of all this?
Working on it. I'm already giving away proprietary information.
No, I'm not asking you to give it away. I'm just asking if you had it.
No, for sure. Working on it, definitely, because yeah, it's interesting correlations, and you don't want to make your hydrogen vehicle out of a aluminum anode, because you'll go right through it in no time, right? But
well,
silver,
it's more than that. If you look at the periodic table, you want to see the atomic structure of it and see why it's doing what it's doing. You know what I mean? What is it giving off? What is it taking? You know what I mean?
exactly. And the best way to do that, I'll just load it very quickly before I have to go. But exactly what you're talking about, and I would recommend this if it's gonna open. Come on. Come on, slow computer that's supposed to be fast. Almost there. Oh. What?
Get it? Well,
Yeah, there we go. Oh, there we go. Recommends
here we go. I see something.
The
We got
Walter Russell.
Russell.
And so just to take a look, we were talking aluminum right there. So it's an orange on it. It's very quick to go.
So aluminum,
Silver
iron, those are the
is
fast
yellow.
ones.
Silver is a slow one.
Okay.
It's on the blue, so that's red. That's red. Zinc's a very fast one too. Iron's a slower one. So I guess not really showing on.
Well, because there has to be a pattern here, right?
Exactly. You'd think. We would think.
So, okay, so what's around some of these metals? If you have iron, did you try cobalt or manganese?
They go really fast. Really fast. As does bismuth and lead. They also go extremely fast.
But silver didn't. So silver's in the 8th harmonic, but you're in the 7th harmonic, okay, with cobalt, iron's in the 6th. I'm just wondering if it's a frequency in there when you're putting it in. Is that based on how fast it breaks down? Maybe you're hitting a good point.
Yeah, right. I haven't really messed around with too many different frequencies on experimenting on that angle. So far, it's just been with the same 5 volts consistently trying. What you're talking about is my next step of experimental.
Is it 5 volts DC?
AC, I've done some DC, and it's just as fast. But I'm going to start doing more with DC just to run comparisons with identical reactions. Right, so tungsten and gold on the same 9th, and tungsten's the strongest, gold's one of the weakest. So,
So that can't be the connection.
So not on this chart, I guess, for the correlations. Have to be on another. And silver.
Something tells me it has to do with your frequency.
Tungsten and silver very close. 1 octave down. Interesting. Interesting.
That's what little $10, probably $20 at Amazon might get you what you want. Trigger circuit by a frequency generator there. Run that thing on 5 volts on DC. Run it right into there. If it DC works, then you can get a different frequency to whatever you want, up to megahertz, I think it is, or so many kilohertz. And it's less than $20 on Amazon. You can buy these parts, and you can adjust the frequency wherever you want, and it'll allow you to play with it so you can get the right harmonic.
Exactly what I need. So please email me the exact specifics of what I need to order, and I shall do that. And
I'd love to see how fast it goes if you got the right one. You know what I mean? It was
not
super slow.
And it's like, I'm gonna have to run these experiments outside, because it's like, once you get the right harmonic, I am predicting there will be a lot higher rates of hydrogen production in the reaction, and I don't want to explode.
Because the Russell scale is all about string theory and how harmonics affect different elements. So that means that frequency itself in there is the best thing that you could do to it to change the value and how fast things should move.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it, Bernie. That'd be, dude, I got to see that.
It's coming. It's coming.
All right. You got Sheila coming up tonight, man?
Yes, sir. 1 hour's time. So Awesome show here. Appreciate Shawn and appreciate you, Nathan, and it's all that you guys do. And we'll see you over there in an hour.
Right on, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank
I just
you.
gotta run through a few things real quick. We gave out 50 Man Builds memberships, man. We had on your channel, Yoza came up and hooked up BurnEye, man. And then Winona Raiders, man, you're awesome, brother. Appreciate it, man. Taking care of me. With that said, man, chat, you guys have been awesome tonight. Thank you very much. I hope you can see you guys all on BurnEye's channel, and watch out for Sheila tonight. With that said, have a great night.
The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.